Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to our podcast. My name is Linda.
And I'm Leo.
We're here today to help you improve your listening skills. Whether you're just starting to learn English or you're already at an intermediate level, this podcast will help you understand more when people speak.
That's right, Linda. Listening is one of the most important skills when learning a new language. When you listen carefully, you can understand what people are saying, even if they speak quickly or use words you don't know.
Exactly, Leo. But learning to listen well isn't easy. You need to practice, and today we're going to help you with that. So let's start with the basics. Why is listening so important when learning English?
Listening is the key to good communication. When you understand what people are saying, you can reply, ask questions, or continue the conversation. You'll also learn new words by listening. When you hear a word you don't know, your brain starts to think, what does that mean? You'll begin to understand words by their context.
Yes, and listening also helps with pronunciation. When you hear how native speakers pronounce words, you can try to say them the same way. This helps your speaking too.
Right, but I know some people find listening difficult. Maybe you don't understand everything, or people speak too fast. Don't worry, this is normal, especially when you're just starting out. That's why we're here to help you take it step by step.
Yes, don't feel bad if you don't understand everything right away. It takes time to improve your listening skills, but with practice, you will get better. Let's talk about some tips on how to become a better listener.
One great tip is to listen to different types of English. For example, you can listen to music, watch movies, or even listen to podcasts like this one.
Exactly. The more you listen, the more you'll start to recognize words and phrases. You'll also hear how people use different tones and expressions. And don't worry if you don't understand everything the first time. It's normal to listen to something more than once to understand it better.
Yes, that's a good point, Linda. Repeating things can really help. You can listen to a conversation, then play it again and again. Each time, you'll pick up new things.
Another tip is to listen for keywords. When people talk, they usually focus on the important words. You don't need to understand every single word. Just try to catch the key words.
That's great advice. Let's give an example. If I say, I went to the store and bought some bread, milk, and eggs, what are the important words?
The keywords here are store-bought, bread, milk, and eggs. Even if you didn't understand every word, you'd know I went to buy food.
Exactly. That's why it's important to listen for the key words in a sentence. It will give you a general idea of what's happening.
And don't forget, listening takes patience. Sometimes you might feel frustrated if you don't understand. But that's okay, you're learning, and with practice, you'll improve.
Yes, patience is really important. It's okay to not understand everything. Even native speakers sometimes miss things or ask people to repeat themselves.
That's true. So if you're listening to a podcast, a movie, or someone talking, don't be afraid to pause and go back. Listen again. Over time, you'll understand more and more.
Another helpful thing to do is to listen to conversations that are at your level. If something is too difficult, it can be hard to follow. Try to find things that are a little challenging, but not too difficult.
Yes, and as you improve, you can move on to more difficult things. Start simple, and then work your way up.
And don't forget to use subtitles if you're watching a video. It's a great way to read and listen at the same time.
That's such a good tip, Leo. Subtitles can help you connect the words you hear to the words you see.
Now, let's talk about another important thing: focus. When you're listening, it's easy to get distracted, but try your best to focus on the speaker.
Yes, turn off anything that might distract you. Focus on what you're hearing. If you really listen closely, you'll understand more.
And don't be afraid to ask someone to speak more slowly. If you're practicing with a friend or a teacher, it's okay to ask them to slow down.
Exactly. Most people will be happy to slow down if they know you're learning. It's better to understand things well than to rush through a conversation.
Yes, because understanding is the most important thing.
We've covered some good tips so far. What do you think, Leo?
I think we're giving our listeners some great advice on how to improve their listening.
Definitely. The most important thing to remember is practice, practice, practice.
Yes, the more you listen, the better you'll get. Just keep going and don't give up.
And always remember, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does. What's important is that you keep trying.
Exactly. Learning takes time, but it's so worth it.
Now that we've talked about why listening is important and some tips on how to improve, let's get into a bit more detail on how to practice listening every day.
Yes, building a daily habit of listening is one of the best things you can do. Listening is like exercise. You need to do it regularly to get stronger.
Exactly. And the great thing is, you can practice listening anywhere. You don't need to be in a classroom to learn. You can listen to English while you're doing everyday things.
That's true. For example, if you're on the bus or taking a walk, you can listen to music in English or even a podcast like this one. You're learning without even thinking about it.
Right, Leo. And another fun way to practice is by watching your favorite movies or TV shows in English. You can start with subtitles, like we mentioned before, and then slowly try watching without them.
Yes, watching something you enjoy makes it easier to stay focused. If you like cooking, you can watch cooking shows in English. If you like sports, you can watch sports videos. The key is to choose something that interests you.
And remember, it's not just about understanding every word. You're training your ear to get used to the sounds of English, the rhythm of the language, and how people speak naturally.
Exactly. Sometimes when people start learning, they expect to understand everything right away. But listening is also about getting the feel of the language, even if you don't understand every single word.
Yes, and you'll notice that as you listen more, you'll start to catch words and phrases that repeat often. Your brain will start to recognize patterns.
That's a great point, Linda. It's like learning a song. At first, you might only understand some of the words. But as you listen more, the meaning becomes clearer.
Absolutely, and don't be afraid to mix it up. One day, you might listen to a podcast. The next day, you can listen to music or watch a video. The variety keeps things interesting and helps your brain adapt to different voices and accents.
That's right, and speaking of accents, it's important to get used to different ways people speak. There are many different English accents: British, American, Australian, and more. Even within one country, people can sound different.
Yes, and that's actually a good thing. When you get used to hearing different accents, you'll find it easier to understand English in any situation. So don't worry if someone sounds different from what you're used to. It's all part of learning.
Exactly, and when you're practicing, it's a good idea to listen to both fast and slow speech. Sometimes people will speak slowly, and other times they'll speak fast, like in real conversations.
Yes, that's very true. If you're always listening to slow speech, it might be hard to understand faster conversations. But if you challenge yourself to listen to something a bit faster, over time, your ears will get used to it.
And don't be afraid to listen to something more than once. Sometimes listening to a conversation 2 or 3 times helps you understand it better. Each time, you might notice something new.
Exactly. You might catch a new word or understand the meaning better after the second or third time. It's a great way to learn and really absorb the language.
Let's also talk about one more thing: listening with a purpose. When you listen to something, try to focus on what the speaker is saying. For example, if you're listening to a podcast about cooking, pay attention to the words related to food or cooking steps.
That's such a good idea, Leo. Listening with a purpose helps your brain focus on specific words and phrases. You can also practice by asking yourself questions while you listen. What is the speaker talking about? What are the key points?
Yes, and after listening, it's a good idea to repeat or summarize what you heard. Even if you're alone, you can say it out loud. This will help you remember what you learned and improve your speaking skills at the same time.
Right, speaking and listening go hand in hand. When you listen carefully, it helps your speaking. And when you speak, it helps you listen better because you understand how conversations work.
Exactly. It's like a cycle. The more you listen, the better you speak, and the more you speak, the better you listen.
So now that we've shared some ideas on how to practice every day, we hope you feel ready to start listening more. Remember, even a few minutes each day can make a big difference.
Yes, the more you listen, the faster you'll improve. And don't worry about making mistakes or not understanding everything at first, just keep going.
That's the key. Don't give up. Listening might seem hard at the beginning, but with practice, it will get easier.
And remember, there are so many resources out there to help you. Podcasts, music, TV shows, movies. You can find something that works for you and enjoy the process of learning.
Yes, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Start simple, but keep pushing yourself to listen to more complex conversations as you improve.
Exactly. It's all about progress, not perfection. Keep practicing and you'll get there. And now let's talk about one last thing, confidence.
Yes, confidence is key. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel.
That's right. When you're learning a language, mistakes are part of the process. The important thing is to keep going and have fun with it.
Exactly. Enjoy the journey. Every time you listen, you're getting better, even if you don't notice it right away.
And remember, learning English is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, but you'll get there if you keep practicing.
Yes, so keep listening, keep practicing, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
We hope you found these tips helpful, and we're so happy to be part of your English learning journey.
Thank you for listening. Everyone, keep practicing, and you'll see great progress.
Goodbye, and good luck with your English.
Bye.